Good morning and welcome to First Parish, Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socio-economic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome. Welcome on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together. If you are visiting, please let us know in the chat box. A big welcome to the people calling in on their phones. We are glad you are here. I am Twinks Hastings, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education, happy to be welcoming you to the service this morning with our inaugural group of adult coming-of-agers, Kathy Myers, Linda Ladek, Melissa Fisher, Elenita Muniz, Judy Fenner, Liz Libby, Irie Mullen, and Vicky Goldsmith was also in our class. And we have Karina Stroh, our admin and finance director, on tech support. Our chat box will be on until after the first hymn, and then it will be closed for the rest of the service. Our service has closed captioning. You need to turn it on in your taskbar. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. We have one community news announcement. Our annual spring fundraising event is just around the corner. This season's Spring Festival will begin on May 8th and conclude on May 16th, with a live auction of select offerings on Saturday, May 15th. Please consider donating your talent or craft. For more information, read our weekly angle or the FPBUU website for donation ideas and a link to the donation form, or contact Debbie Klein. Next Sunday at 10 a.m., you're invited to join us for our Earth Day service. It will be a reflection on different calls to climate action from members of the congregation. All are welcome at 10 a.m. Welcome to worship this morning. It is so good to be together. Before we begin our planned service, I would like to start our time together with a moment of silence and reflection for Dante Wright, another Black body killed at the hands of the police. Will you please join me in a moment of silence? Dante's loss is another loss for this nation and a reflection of a system of white supremacy that needs to be urgently addressed. I pray that his family find comfort in this time and that we all continue our fight to dismantle white supremacy in our own lives and the communities we belong to.
We are in this together, though we're far apart. You are on my mind, and I'm sure you'll find that you are in my heart. We are in this together. This is where we start. While we're sitting here in our different spheres, when will our paths cross?
The first time I witnessed a coming of age service at First Parish was the year we were meeting in the school cafeteria. Who remembers those days? Put your hands up. For newer folks, our building was renovated a while back, and so for a year, we met in the local elementary school cafeteria. I was relatively new to the church back then, and I sat watching as youth after youth delivered these brilliant, thoughtful, sincere credos and statements of faith. One young person danced with their mentor, another shared poetry. It was mind-blowing to me. And two things happened for me in that moment. One, I knew I needed to be a part of whatever program created that magic in our young people. And two, I wanted to come of age myself, even though I was in my early 20s back then. And that seed never left me. Since then, I've been a mentor and led various middle school coming of age experiences. The coming of age program allows our middle school youth to explore who they are and what they believe as they transition from childhood to youth. But that nagging thought about how, as someone who came to Unitarian Universalism as a young adult, I missed out on that time of exploration about the big questions of life and my faith, supported by a group of my peers and in a safe and fun circle. I had some coming of age FOMO for sure. So this year, I decided to experiment and offer a modified, shortened version of our middle school program to adults in the congregation. 8 wonderful, brave souls signed up, and we had an 8-week online program exploring various aspects of faith, theology, morals, and beliefs in fun and creative ways. It was such an honor to walk this path with this diverse range of folks and witness as they wrestled with some of the topics. What really struck me about this experiment was the questioning and grappling with the topics is not that much different between the middle schoolers and the adults. And the model of having fun, playing around with art and different activities is an important learning tool, no matter your age. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith calls us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Who knows what number of principle that is? I asked this to the youth the other day. Same looks. It's our 4th principle. And I don't think that search ever stops. Our faith by nature is a growing and changing faith as we travel through the stages of life. I believe there is room to come of age over and over and over, and that our credos are a living document to be returned to and revised as we grow. This past week, I joined a conversation with the UUA about revising the coming of age program, bringing it into alignment with our promise to dismantle white supremacy in all we do. Part of that conversation was around creating an official coming of age for adults program. And I am so excited about that and to bring it to First Parish when it's completed. But for now, I am so honored to share with you our first adult coming of age service with these brave folks who jumped into my experiment and whose credos are inspiring and brilliant. I light our chalice this morning that we might remember that we are all lifelong learners, and all of us with our own coming of age stories, and we have the potential to come of age over and over again. This morning, our opening song is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. I invite you during this time to post in the chat box anything that's on your heart. It might be a joy, it might be a concern, but please feel free during Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. to post those things in our chat box.
And to rejoice and come in, and to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Enter, and to rejoice and come in, and to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Today will be a joyful day. Today will be a joyful day. And to rejoice and come
Please join me in a moment of prayer. Spirit of life, spirits of earth and air and fire and water, be with us now. We come together, each with our hopes and fears, our joys and sorrows, to be in community and find affirmation and support. We bring to this sacred time and space the weight of the world and its illness, violence, and greed. We bring our loneliness and our weariness. We place before our friends these burdens, knowing many of them are shared, and confident that love, good wishes, far off hugs, and sympathy will be coming our way. We bring, too, the glories of spring and family, feathered friends and peepers, the joy of sometimes going maskless, the thrill of occasional face-to-face gatherings. We share our gratitude for vaccines and for family, for sun and warmth and the sea that surrounds us. We know that cheers, smiles, love, and huzzas are winging toward and among us. We go forth from this sacred space, renewed by our connection with loving community, strengthened by our meditations together, and determined to create the world we wish to see. Blessed be.
Hello, this is my credo. Who am I? From outside, I appear able body, sound mind, when in actuality I am not. I am very broken inside with unsteady mind. Please, with these handicap, give me a chance. I can be as loyal as a Labrador retriever. Relationship and friendship I value as if my life depends on it. Beginning of life, I believed in God, but as life has given me turbulence, so has my belief. I hope one day I can find God again, or at least close to a belief to help me through life and eventually the end. I try to treat others as I would like to be treated. Respect, acceptance, and equality. I am human and therefore have flaws. Each flaws I should learn to improve. If not, give me the time and patience. That is what I would do in return.
When I was 11 years old, I headed out to a class sailboat race. It was a particularly windy day, so skippers were advised to take an extra crew. 3 of us, all in our foul weather gear, set out in my beetle cat named Veet Veet. All of a sudden, a big wind gust hit the sails, and over we went. Capsized. A beetle cat, once capsized, is very hard to right. As skipper, I was trained to first make sure my crew was okay and that they were holding on to the boat for safety. This was in the days before we were required to wear life jackets. Seeing my crew safe, I decided to swim after and collect all the boat parts that were floating away. I was afraid my father would kill me if I lost them. However, I had not thought to take off my foul weather gear, so swimming after my rudder was the last thing I remembered until I awoke on the sailing master's boat. I don't know how close I came to dying, but the experience led me to one of many life's lessons, that I am important. Would I do the same thing if my boat capsized today? Well, sort of. As Elenita would say, that I would first save my dog, and then the rest of the crew for sure. But today I would consider myself more important than the rudder and tiller floating away. Loving myself has been a lifelong journey. I still sometimes compare myself to others and wonder if I measure up. For instance, I still don't feel I'm a real spiritual person and questioned my involvement in this adult COA class. But I realize now that spirituality comes in many forms. Mine just happens to be in nature and the outdoors. I believe in the ocean, in all her powers, and never take them for granted. Respecting the ocean and teaching others to love and respect her gives me peace and has been my core for a very, very long time. I love animals, birds, bugs of all kinds, and always somehow find myself rooting for the underdog in nature's cycles. I believe we humans can learn so much from what nature has to offer. One of my favorite times is bike riding early in the morning in the woods with the dog before other humans wake up. I value the chance of seeing a deer or birds as they too awake for their day. It is peaceful and truly magical and never gets old. I also love bike riding on the roads, exploring roads that I have never been down, even though I have lived on Cape Cod all my life. I love seeing the sunrise at Red River Beach on my Sunday bike ride to church. Riding settles my mind and makes me appreciate the gifts nature brings. I sometimes find myself solving the world's problems on my bike, and some of my best ideas come from going for a bike ride. This is magical in a spiritual sense. I love sailing and taught it for 20 years. It is so very healing for me that I share it with others. I have watched people's fear of the ocean disappear after a quiet, lovely sail. I believe in fairy tales and prefer the ones that live happily ever after, probably because the real world has not always been that way. As in fairy tales, there is a beginning and an end. I need that. I sat through all the credits of Good Will Hunting, waiting in vain for him to go beyond the mast pike to the girl he loved, but to no avail. I believe in honesty, kindness, and behaving in a loving way, but that's not always easy to do, and sometimes I don't succeed. Like my capsizing episode, my values have been shaped by other experiences. Strong friendships with strong women gave me strength to find my own path. Being a woman in a male dominated business made me stronger, and I continue to fight against stereotypes. Fighting for gay rights and marching for change helped me to celebrate who I am. Truth be known, this is my second attempt at a credo. My original one was swallowed up in cyberspace. At first, I was devastated and thought I could never recreate it. But then I realized that I have experienced growth from when that was written. I guess we are always evolving, and every experience will have endless possibilities. The adult COA was one of those experiences and truly has opened doors that I never knew were unlocked.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage.
Live From Yarmouthport, it's Sunday Morning Live. And this is Linda Laddick saying good morning to all my friends at First Parish Brewster, especially the wonderful women that helped me through this coming of age program, and Twinks Hastings in particular. Anyhow, here I am, never going to 8th grade. I skipped it in junior high. And lo and behold, I'm doing my coming of age after being a mentor many years ago for one of our kids here. So here we are, 73 years old. I thought the 70s at least were going to be for some coasting, but I realize we are just always becoming. So anyhow, what drives me? Love, kindness, and respect, my three biggest values. And thus in my life, I've been very people-oriented. 25 out of my 50 working years, I was a teacher. And of all ages, kindergarten through college, psych. So I have also been a lifelong learner. So I learn just as much from my students as hopefully they learn from whatever I've taught them through the years. Hopefully they've all been kind, loving, and respectful. Let's see, what else do I want to bring out? As far as my ideas of God, they've changed very much through the years. Being brought up Roman Catholic, up until I was about 19, I looked at God as a rather harsh God, not loving and supportive as I look at God now. And thus I rejected the church that my father held pretty dear. My mother didn't believe in religion, being a Russian Orthodox person, never practiced it. But anyhow, so it took me very great adventures, New York City, San Francisco, Guadalajara, Mexico, and lo and behold, Brewster, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, 28 years ago. And 27 years ago, I became a First Parish Brewster member. And lots of history in the last 27 years. And what the coming of age program, I think, got me to think about a lot was, what do I look at when I think of God? What does God represent for me? Well, I think basically I have a variety. From second grade Baltimore Catechism, God is everywhere. And I really and truly believe that. It took me joining a 12-step group way back in the late 80s to at least call the force, as I was calling it then, my higher power. And from there and through these years, I can say God. And when I look outside and I see the trees, sunrises, sunsets, it's God. It's our collective souls every Sunday as I look out and see the little rectangles. This is certainly one service I wish I was speaking from our chancel with all of you in front of me and some of you holding me in back of me. And that to me is God working. It's making me serene. Yes, I'm wearing my rose quartz serenity beads, but it's also what emanates from all of us every Sunday or a smaller group on Wednesdays. It's playing in 3 different bands and ensembles, listening to all the sounds and speaking through our hearts and musical notes instead of words all the time. I think God's working there. It just makes the craziest rock and roll tune seem like, oh my God, this is what it's all about. And it's service that we do for each other. It's the gratitude each day that the bottom line is I am vertical and breathing on my own. Thank you, God, for that. And what I love most about our UU ideas here is basically our affirmation that we believe in love. And I equate God with love. Service is our prayer. We help each other. We accept help from each other. And every human being has a certain inherent worth and dignity that I always hope I will respect and try to look for sometimes, because it's not always that obvious in everybody. And I guess my mantra these days, in these days of chaos and division and unity, I just would like to end my coming of age credo with you just by repeating a prayer I use as a mantra some moments. And that is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thanks, everybody.
Cutting is my play. I lose all time. Silence surrounds me as I snip away space to reveal new space. Paper, scissors, and a dot of glue yield timeless snips that record me, highs and lows, smiles and tears, birth, lost years. Everyone should have a quiet place. Paper, scissors, and a dot of glue. This saying of mine came to me back in my early years of teaching when I took a course at UMass Dartmouth with John Gray with 4 other women, and it ended up the whole course was done in silence. It was about play in art, play, having joy in the making of things, but contrasting that with the silence made it very inward. So at that point was when I was getting more into my paper cutting, because I was working in 3 schools. I had a young child. I was a wife. And it seemed like no matter what I did or how much I tried to squeeze some time in for me, it just wasn't there. So having these simple supplies sort of helped me do some artwork. And paper cutting is such a nice way to experience space and silence. As I cut the paper, I'm creating new spaces. But I'm also practicing listening. The paper actually, when I'm cutting it, you can actually hear paper. I've always tried to be a good listener. Always tried to be a good listener for my son when he was little and growing up, and for my students in my art classrooms, because if they had something to say, I'd rather ask them to repeat it if I didn't hear it correctly than just to guess what they were saying. But as far as myself, I wasn't the best listener to my own health and desires. And sometimes things that I thought were going to go just such a certain way needed to be readjusted. And I needed to find a new path. So over the years, I learned to be a better listener to myself. And over the years, I learned that if I just stayed doing exactly the same things with no changes, it would be sort of like the white bunny in the snow. No one would really know it was even there because we couldn't see it. So I had to change things up a little bit, make some contrast happen. And I also had to not always be the perfect fitting piece in the puzzle. So when you always fit in the puzzle, there's very little wiggle room. So sometimes you need to make more space. So in making more space, I had to learn more about myself. And in that process, I became a better listener to friends and to myself. And I found out that there was a lot more wiggle room in life than I thought. That is a lot of wiggle room right there. Maybe we'll take this part away, go to this part, see how we're doing with wiggle room now. I think we're going to find, our wiggle room is gone. So again, we're going to go back. It's gone. So we're going to go back. Let's cut this heart a little bit. There's always possibilities. I'm a good one for looking. I like possibilities. I like to create environments. I like to create new things, new spaces. All right, being respectful of what I can do, what are possibilities for me. I think now I'm going to cut a little heart. That's going to be me. Not too little. Just enough to say, hey, I'm here. And sometimes you can go back, I have found, into your past and rearrange things that you thought you didn't need anymore. And maybe you'll find that they can be helpful, that you're sort of going back into your resources. And again, I believe this is because you're actually taking time to listen to your thoughts, to the thoughts of others, and gaining new ideas. Now that's looking okay, but I'm going to go a little further into my past. And I'm going to add some connections, whether it's with friends, whether it's with ideas, whether it's with beliefs. I believe we have like a treasure chest within us. Sometimes it's from people who have passed on, who are no longer in our life, but gave us life lessons. Sometimes, we'll add a couple more. Sometimes it's dreams that we had that we sort of cast aside that now we can revisit. And sometimes I think, oh, these little guys just want to stick right together. There they go. So I'll put this one purple up. This one, contrast. So there we go. That's my little afternoon play session. Of course, all of this can be changed. I can vary it however I want. During the pandemic, I put a lot of paper cut hearts made out of collage papers on my front door. And also included on my front door, which probably only the UPS person got to read, was this quote: "We must be willing to let go of the life we had planned, so as to have the life that is waiting for us." This I believe, and so did E.M. Forster. Thank you.
Each week, we have the practice of splitting our plate. Half of what is collected goes to the work of First Parish, and half goes to a worthy organization. Our community organization this week is Faith Family Kitchen. Faith Family Kitchen serves hot, nutritious meals to our food insecure neighbors 3 evenings a week in Hyannis. Since 2012, Faith Family Kitchen has provided over 150,000 meals. Food insecurity is something many people living on Cape Cod face. Your donation today can help to make a difference in people's lives. There are a couple of ways you can give today. You can text to give. The number is in the chat box. Or you can mail a check to the church made out to FPBUU with split plate and today's date in the memo. You can also donate on our website. However you choose to give, we thank you for your generosity this morning. The offertory will now be gratefully accepted.
Hi, everyone. I'm Irene Mullen, and this is my Credo Live. Before I start, I just want to say that I am a UU Taoist, and until I found First Parish Brewster, I didn't know that there was a faith community in which I could be authentic and believe my beliefs, and that's been super critical for me. So I have been a member about 7 years, I think, at this point. And so here is my credo. I give my heart to and find my heart in the untamed forces of the natural world and the experiential parts of my mind and body. The rush of the wind, the foaming surf, the murmurations of migrating birds remind my body and its ever-distracted mind of the continuous cycle of time and the infinite universe around me. My theology is the simplicity of the Tao, that indescribable force, feeling, energy, which connects all things and their absence. The Tao is no farther away from my senses than the time it takes to stop and look up at the night sky, the choice to take my shoes off on the beach, no matter how cold, the space to sit with my back against an old tree and smell the decaying leaves. From this calm connection and guidance from nature come my spiritual values, the knowledge that all humans are part of the Tao, that all people have inherent worth, even when their actions or beliefs harm themselves or others. The awareness that time is incalculably long, despite our short human experience, and that we are most fulfilled by acting as best we can to serve both our world now and in the future. The recognition of infinite diversity and boundless potential in all individuals who thrive in our collective honor and support to grow ever closer to equality and fairness for everyone. The acceptance that dark accompanies light, absence accompanies presence, loss accompanies gain, but nevertheless, the universe and humanity persist. In my spiritual practice, I seek to remember these feelings and values, to connect with the Tao by accessing the feeling, perceiving, experiencing parts of myself. Creativity helps me hear what is often drowned out, to see what can be beyond my typical focus. Joy and exhilaration connect me to this moment and all those past and future moments. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Libby, and here's my credo. I believe in helping others, and service is my prayer. From the moment I was born, my family of origin raised me with a philosophy of joy, J-O-Y. Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. Service to others and to God was a core value, growing up in my family, and I internalized a lot of unhealthy messages about my own place in that priority list. I'm no longer a follower of Jesus, and it's taken me many years to learn that caring for myself is a necessity and an act of self-love rather than a failing into selfishness and laziness. I've worked for nearly a decade to unlearn many of the messages I was brought up with, but one that I've chosen to keep is the importance of serving others. It shows up in many facets of my life. As I grew into adulthood, I realized that I wanted to serve the goddess by serving other women. When I care for new and expectant parents in my work, I'm putting good out into the world with acts of service, and it brings me joy. In my relationships and my friendships, I strive to be of service to the people I care about. It can be a little harder to lean on them when I need help, but I'm working on that. And then there's parenting. I've had a unique and difficult parenting journey with my 3 amazing children, and what they have taught me is that parenting is serving. When I parent these kids from a place of intention, kindness, and curiosity, I'm working in service of the small people in my care, but also in service of the future. By serving my little family with good boundaries, kindness, and an eye toward teaching them how to be good humans, I am serving their humanity and the people who will be around them as they grow. Please note that when I talk about serving my kids, I do not mean that I am their servant. What I mean is that I am supporting them, caring for them in a compassionate way, and modeling for them what it looks like to care for others. I'm working hard to do it a little differently than my parents did, because it's important to me that they also learn how to serve and care for themselves in a nourishing way. As this pandemic has gone on and on and on and on, one of the things that has brought me great comfort and some small scraps of joy has been to find ways to serve others safely. I've bread bombed members of my community and family. I've brought soup and cookies to folks who could use a pick-me-up. I've made lasagna for struggling families, and I've sent notes to folks who are on my mind. Mostly, I guess I've made a lot of food for people, but I do find that finding a way to serve others fills my own cup. I have other values as well, but I've found as I've been thinking about writing this credo statement that for me, they all tend to fall under service. Honesty, compassion, laughter, caring for the environment, yes, all super important, as well as many, many others. And for me, they're all forms of serving the community and serving our world. I really believe that this is how we get through, by helping each other. I'll leave you with the words of my very favorite fictional moral philosophy professor, Chidi Anagonye from The Good Place. So why do it then? Why choose to be good every day if there's no guaranteed reward we can count on, now or in the afterlife? I argue that we choose to be good because of our bonds with other people and our innate desire to treat them with dignity. Simply put, we are not in this alone.
I believe in magic with a K. I believe in the goddess of the stars and the moon and the woods and the waters. I believe in Tinkerbell and Dobby and Charlotte and Pooh. I believe in spells, small ones, the kinds that mothers whisper over their sleeping children or that we breathe out to our lover. I believe that at midnight on Christmas Eve, all the animals can speak. We just pay enough attention. I believe that frogs don't need to be kissed. They are already royalty. And I believe in horses, especially Justin Morgan's horses. I believe that trees talk to each other. I talk to them a lot. I have seen deer and coyotes and fishers enough to believe there is magic of the woods and in the scent of crushed wintergreen leaves. I believe that the king must die. The king needn't die, but she must be willing. The willingness is all. I believe in fibers, thread, yarn, rope, and wool. I need always to be doing something with my hands, sewing, quilting, or more often, weaving. Arachne is my goddess of the loom, and so I believe in the magic of spiders, too. I believe in the strong threads of family. I have been blessed by 5 generations of strong women. Great-grandmother Maud of the delicious cookies, my grandmother Alice, feisty, elegant farm wife, and my rule-breaking grandmother Melba. My amazing, loving, inspirational, and glorious Mother Jane. My daughters, Michaela, the diplomat extraordinaire, and Bryony, the gifted teacher of children and of other teachers. I love these women whose lives cover a century and a half, from 1876 to now and into the future, and from them all I have learned. I believe in love. My early years, wild and passionate and a little crazy, brought me eventually to my dear soulmate and partner, Judy. With her, I have learned to believe in commitment and persistence and to aspire to the fearlessness of a true moral center. So you see, overwhelmingly, I believe in women, in their strength and authority and their connections to nature and magic. Women have the power to change the world, and nothing is more desperately needed. Women understand in our deepest souls that security is not measured by weapons or territory seized or enemies killed, but by the safety of a home, enough food, education, health care, justice, and a space free of violence. I believe in peace and love and generosity and patience and humility, and there is far too little of all these, either in myself or in the world. And so I also believe in big spells, the ones we moan and shout and scream out over the world, the calls for justice and peace and equity and an end to violence and the tyranny of men. I was taught that if I didn't like the way of the world, I must put my hand to the plow and change it. And in that work, I have been inspired by so many sisters in Wilf who taught me that I can never stop doing something, no matter how small, to make a difference. At the same time, I know my remaining time for making change is limited. While I don't know what comes after, I don't fear that end. In the meantime, I hold fast to this idea from one of my favorite books. When you expect to be happy, you are not. When you don't expect to be happy, there is suddenly Easter in your soul. Something has broken the seal upon that door in the depth of your being that opens onto eternity. It is not yet time for you yourself to go out of it, but what is beyond comes in and passes into you and through you. And I believe those moments do come.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we
For our benediction, I ask you to direct your attention to your hands and to your heart. Please take your hands and place them upon your heart. Take in a deep breath, and as you release it, put your hands down gently where it's easy to gaze upon them. As you get your hands comfortable, imagine the tiny, tiny hands of your childhood. Those first accomplishments you had in a simple grasp. I remember when my grandfather and I used to take walks. I would hold on to his pointer finger as his hands were too grand for me to grasp with my own. I still remember the feeling I had on those walks of being connected, of acceptance, security, and surely of love. Move into your memories of when your hands were small and you had your accomplishments, your beginnings of becoming who you are today. Was it picking up a crayon? Was it making your first line with a pencil? Possibly turning a knob or finding out that you could open a door. Or maybe it was that moment when you pushed your mittens aside and decided you could squiggle your fingers into those inlets of a glove. I hope your heart felt warmth in your memories as you recalled even these small accomplishments, as you became who you are today in larger accomplishments. As we close our service, I ask you to return to your hands and to your heart in reflection and in becoming. Imagine yourself back in our church sanctuary. Or, if you're not familiar with our sanctuary, imagine yourself in a space where you feel connected, you feel like you belong, and you feel comfort. Now within that space, reach out your hands. Reach them to the right, reach them to the left, ahead of you, behind you. Reach them till they meet another hand and then grasp it gently. Feel the energy of connection. Feel the love generating from one grasp to another. Now take your gaze up into the face of who the hand belongs to. Look into their eyes. Give them a smile. And then take your eyes in your mind's eye and look around the church or look around your space. Look to the right, look to the left. Look forward, look back. If you're in a space with a balcony, check out the faces in the balcony. All those hands have faces that belong with them. And as you catch those eyes, again, you can feel the love. You can feel the connection. I hope you take with you today the care and the love of our connected community. And as you go forth into what becomes today, blessed be.
Thank you all for joining us for worship this morning, and thank you, adult coming of agers. You inspired me, and let's give them some twinkles. I think they deserve it. Anyone that jumps in when I say I have an experiment deserves some twinkles. So thank you all.